As you know, for 50 years UNDP has been working on the front lines of development. It has advocated for change, it has connected countries to help people build better lives.
The things we hear about pragmatism is the way the UNDP is dealing in the world. And I think in Lebanon in particular, we depend on this mentality.
Turkey has already overcome extreme poverty and some other issues, but we need to deepen our democracy, rule of law, and also increase our level of prosperity so that we can enter into the developed nations.
Now we have a new agreement, an agreement in which UNDP and the government, the Colombian government, have agreed a fund in order to participate in the post-conflict process.
There cannot be islands of prosperity and poverty. There cannot be islands of health and disease. There cannot be islands of progress and underdevelopment. There cannot be islands of education and illiteracy.
Nauru is one of the smallest member of the UN, and we have special needs. Special challenges and our risks in these times with climate change is unique as well.
Of course, in half a century, the world has changed so much, and we have changed with it. But what has never changed is the core mission of working with countries on the eradication of poverty, and these days with a new development agenda to do that in a way which also reduces inequality and exclusion and protects the planet on which we all depend.
The future of global development changing is we want to work together to achieve inclusive and sustainable growth.
Today is about the ministers strategically engaging on the big issues and how UNDP can play a role in pushing them forward. We have a new sustainable development agenda. Expectations are very high of us and of what can be done. So getting the direct input of the ministers is vital.
I think there's a consensus globally that UNDP has been an instrumental partner at the development level. I think this is why we see all these delegates and high-level representation and key development or finance or foreign ministers around the world participating to celebrate this 50-year milestone, and to also emphasize the need to continue UNDP's leadership and ability to adapt and transform to be more responsive to the needs of the developing world as we move on implementing the SDGs.
The thing I liked most was when the Pakistani minister was asked, do these guys from UNDP lecture you? He said, no, they always listen to us and to the national priorities, and they come to us with a zero political agenda. That has to be preserved.
The most important things I have learned today is how to balance economic growth with protection of environment.
Well, I think that working with UNDP has been a wonderful experience for our cooperation. The procedures, the way of working of UNDP has been helpful for our bilateral cooperation.
Of course, there are challenges, but the global community has grown up sufficient enough to cope up the challenges. But this is again to widen our hearts and put our minds together.
The good thing is that all countries agreed on the Sustainable Development Goals, which means that no country is left behind.
It's the positive result of the development all over the world for the last 50 years. And second, of course, is the success stories that we heard in different countries about ending poverty and about achieving sustainable development goals.
I think new donors will come in, and I also think there will be more of a collaboration between the private and the public sector.
2015 was such a success for the UN, everyone coming together to make the Sustainable Development Goals. Now it's all about implementation, implementation, implementation. It's up to us.
So today's meeting is an invitation to you, our key stakeholders, to help shape our future as we strive to be relevant and responsive in the implementation of the new agenda.